All right, part 12 about due diligence basics, reviewing the borrower, property and collateral. This builds on part 11, okay? And we've got several videos, several things to help you with your due diligence that we've already pre-recorded and done on either Note Night in America webinars or their podcast episodes or their actual recorded sessions from our previous workshop or previous note camp. There's a due diligence video on the link provided in the manual there. It's a great video talking about some of the different due diligence I literally go through and break down some assets and start pulling up stuff and it's following along and looking over my shoulder as I look at things. Now, borrower due diligence, we talked about getting the servicing note, but looking at the responsiveness. Do they have the right party contact? Are they a trouble or a problem borrower? Okay, you're gonna look at the previous loan documents to see that. We talked about pulling bankruptcy records if they're on there. I also will jump on white pages or spokio.com, or kind of the same thing, and search for the borrower to find other things like current phone number, or phone numbers, relatives, other people at that address that may have a phone if they have roommates, the age of the borrower, okay? What's the age having to do? Because, well, the specific age groups or where they work at, I can often find a social media profile, okay? Facebook, LinkedIn, and I can do some social media sleuthing. What do they say? I mean, we have found borrowers that posted on their social media accounts like, oh, hey, should I pay my mortgage this month or go to Disney World? I'm going to Disney World. Well, you're not going to stay in the house then. Or another borrower who wanted to claim that she was penniless, but when we looked at her social media profile, she just bought a brand new white Cadillac. She just had some big church retreat that she had a full thing. And she was bragging it was such a successful retreat, and we were able to find out what the cost of that was. And then she bought this new car, and we're like, okay, great. Well, you just bought a new car. Guess what? I guess you can either turn over the car to us or we can go the foreclosure route. It's funny how she modified quite quickly, all right? Found out a borrower operated a cleaning service in Columbus, Ohio. So I reached out to her at first because I had other properties and he cleaned. Said, okay, I came across your profile online. I'd like for you to go do a clean out in 2 of my properties there. She went, cleaned it out. I paid her for those 2. And then I said, listen, I'm buying I'm actually just bought your mortgage on your home. I understand you're a hard worker. Let's work out something to keep you in the house. And she was like, oh my gosh, crazy, surprised, okay? And I'm like, okay. Look, you've done the work. I've paid you for the cleanout cruise. Look, I'm owning your mortgage. You should have gotten a letter in the mail. Your mortgage was sold. Let's try to create a win-win here. What happened? And that was a win-win. So that's some things you can do to work out. I mean, we found postings where a guy was going through a transition. He was wanting to pay for breast implants besides paying his mortgage, okay? We found another borrower. Okay, they worked at the University of Missouri and then been sick on leave. So that helped us like, okay, we're going to work with this borrower, okay? Neighbors and family members. You know, one of the things I like going out when I and I actually go out and look at properties, if I'm buying usually 4 or 5 in a particular city or an area, it's worth my while to jump on a plane to go look at. So specifically, if there's a big portfolio, and I can knock out others in the area. But you know, one of the things I'll do is, the realtors go out. Well, if there's nobody home, we'll knock on the neighbor doors. Hey, do you know the borrower? Or do you know your next door neighbor? And we'll get a hold of them. Family members. That's why it's so important with Spokio or Truly. If we don't have a number for the borrower, but we got a family member number, we'll call the number. Hey, we're just trying to track them down. Can they please give us a phone call? Right. We've done this on commercial assets. Okay. So here's the thing you got to realize in commercial assets, especially apartments. I'll call some of the tenants. Hey, I'm looking to try to track down your property manager. Would you mind providing that number? And we're looking at potentially buying this property. What would you do with it? Would you mind telling me a little bit about the property? How is it? Good shape? Things that you would like to see improved? What would you like to see fixed? Oh yeah, there was a fire in 2 of the units last month, and it still looks like shit. Or I got sewage dripping from the above unit into my toilet or into my shower every morning. So I get a double shower when I take a shower. You know, that kind of. Oh yeah, the washer dryer's all beat up. They never work. The vending machines are broken into. Johnny in unit 112 sells weed. You know, let them go. It's a beautiful thing to listen to. So same thing, past and present employers. I call for verification or hey, are they still working here? Here's the thing too. The thing going on right now in the world of people being laid off or people telling me, calling and say, oh yeah, I've been laid off. Well, I've called a few of their employers. Oh no, they're still working full time. Oh, okay. Thank you. There's a service called notepros.com. A guy by the name of JD Bates, a friend of ours. It's a great kind of scrubbing tool. You copy paste in the city, street. street address, city, and state no zips. You can copy in a spreadsheet, and it'll go out and scrub the Zillow values, the rent rates. It'll go to National Association of Realtors or Realtor.com and give you a listing for realtors. It'll pull the crime map statistics, really great stuff, previous sales, appraised value, bed baths, all that stuff. It pulls that stuff really cheap, like $29 a month. Unlimited pull. So notepros.com, very, very easy to do. He's got some other things that he does with that as well, as far as asset manager scrubbing and things like that too. But we use NotePros. It saves us hours just copy, pasting, dropping in the addresses, and then pulling everything else for us. Okay. Values online versus in person. As is value is what we want to look off of. We want to look at 30-day quick sale price. Always, 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 always have your realtor pull. They're going to give you values. Make sure they look at the property before they pull. Okay. Exterior conditions, obviously important with the property. What's it look like? Are there toys? Is there a flag out? Plants? Is there a stack of papers and mail? Well, if there's a stack of papers and mail, it's probably vacant. Is the power on? We'll call the power companies, the city utility departments. Are they behind a current? As the bank, they'll give me more information. Hey, I'm the bank on this property. How far behind is the power on, power off? You know, that's an important thing to know. If power is off, then it's probably vacant. Okay. Or I've had you tell, oh yeah, they were in here last week. They were on a payment plan. They're doing good. Or no, they were in here and they got in a fight. We had to call the police on them. You know, if the police gets called on and they're trying to do that, it's probably not going to be a good borrower. Okay. Same thing. Call the police department and check it out. Oh yeah, we know that property. It's a crack house. Ah, shit. I'm buying a crack house. Damn it all. Does that mean commercial? Does that mean cash loan? I bought a note, and I wish I called the city before, on an 8-plex in outside of Charlotte and Concord. It was an 8-plex that the owner was running it as a working brothel. I called the police afterwards, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we know that place." I'm like, "You know that place, huh?" Yeah, that's a working brothel. I'm like, "Damn, there's you know, she's been around for years." I'm like, "Shit." You never know until you get a little local flavor calling people and stuff like that. Okay. Like I said, and I'm gonna say this again: always put eyes on asset before funding. Last thing you want, and one of the biggest things you want, is make sure your realtor takes a picture of the street number or the house number. One of the most important needs and keys. You don't want to make a bid on what turns out to be a vacant asset next door, or a trashed out property, or just a empty lot now. It's not what you want. And always, always, always. We've had students that, a realtor went out, thought it was a pretty property, took photos. They were all excited when they didn't even look at the address and realize, oh yeah, that address coincides with that lot or that shell. So don't do that. Always check your taxes owed. That's an important thing. Call the county and see if the name on the mortgage, see the name on your spreadsheet matches the name on the existing owner. If the names are different, then there's something happened. Either it's been detransferred or it's gone through a tax sale. Okay. You got to keep that in mind. All right. You're going to have, like I said, call code enforcement for liens, check the neighborhood activity, make sure it's not a gang. There's been areas in Tampa I was all excited to buy. Then I was driving through it and I was like, oh, we're just going to keep on going. This looks like a rough neighborhood. Same thing in Chicago and other parts. Okay. I always Google the address, and sometimes you'll see a previous MLS listing or previous rental listing that comes in handy, knowing that the borrower, especially if it's relatively recent, as they try to list the property for sale, probably it's a previous short sale, or they're trying to rent the property. We've gotten interior conditions, interior photos at that point, and that's worked out well for us. Check your rent rates. Rentometer, rentometer.com is a great one to go off of. And check the HOA or the COA limitations. This is important, especially when you start dealing with there's retirement community, especially in South Florida. There's a lot of these condo complexes that you have to be 55 or older to live in them. And then also that you can't rent them out. You've got to sell them. So that's something to keep in mind with your exit strategies. And also find out what's the HOA cost. What's the monthly cost for HOA at a condo association? Sometimes calling you to call them, hey, are there any special assessments that aren't showing? Because MLS may say $250 a month or quarter, but there may be a $500 a month special assessment that's going to have to replace the elevator or help out with the exterior costs. So keep that in mind. So that's important about the property. Collateral, because that's really what you're buying, is the number one factor. Always make sure you're getting the original loan documents or the mortgage. Now, if the original loan is misplaced, you can get a lost note affidavit. That's okay. Most importantly thing is the chain of assignments of mortgages. Now, as we mentioned earlier on, if I have a note and I'm selling it to Wesley, and Wesley's turning around and selling it to Cody, there's got to be an assignment of mortgage from my company to Wesley's company, and then there's going to be another assignment of mortgage from Wesley to Cody's company if somebody's buying the note from Cody. So always make sure there's an assignment of mortgage that's been filed along with a corresponding allonge that comes with it. Now, what is an allonge? It's an endorsement. What used to happen previously, years ago, is when a bank made a loan. All right, that's an IOU. A check is an IOU. When you endorse the back of a check to hand it over to somebody, that's an allonge. So what used to happen is banks would hold on to their own loan documents, okay? And then when they would sell the loan, yeah, they would create an assignment of mortgage, but then they would just go back to the back page of the last on the mortgage and endorse that, like an endorsement on a check. Okay, I've seen old loan documents that had like 6 allonges on the back, 6 endorsements. Well, now with MERS, the Mortgage Electronic Registration Services and all these originators and all the growth, the original docs may be filed somewhere off-site. So what happens now is when you sell a mortgage, they create a 1-page allonge. It's not even notarized. It's just a 1-page allonge, which is your endorsement. So if you've got 3 assignments of mortgages, you want to make sure there are 3 allonges that go along with it as well. Allonge, if allonge is missing, that's relatively easy to get fixed. An assignment of mortgage is even relatively easy to get fixed. Just takes a little bit of time. There are vendors out there that can help you out with that. They're not that difficult. It may cost a bit. If an assignment is missing, I would not fund if an assignment was missing. I will fund if an allonge is missing. I'm like, I will get that fixed. But there's a company called Richmond Monroe. It's out of West Branson, Missouri. They handle a lot of that collateral correction issues. Now, if you're not going to get the original loan docs ahead of time to review. So always make sure they're scanned in there, looking at it. And then when you get the collateral files, the first thing you want to do when you get the collateral files is spend some time looking through it. If you've ever come to my office, one of the things that we do with our one-on-one coaching students is when they come into Austin, we spend a good couple hours going through collateral docs. Okay, here's what this is. Here's what you're doing. Here's what you're learning. Here's what this looks like. You're going to flip through it. You're going to get an electronic copy in your due diligence. So the best thing you can do is spend some time and flip through it page by page. Now, most of you guys and gals as brand new note investors don't have a clue what you're looking at. It's like you're looking at Chinese, okay? But you always want to make sure there's a deed of trust. If you can see, if the previous appraisal in there is great, that's a bonus. Previous borrower's loan application or 1003, that's even awesome if you can have that. Any hardship papers are great. But our buddy Joel Markovitz, and I can provide his contact information, he will do collateral review for you. You get a collateral email, email over to it. It's going to cost you, I think, $125 to $150. I think it's $150 actually. And he's depending if you got 5 or less, it's usually about a 48-hour turnaround time, depending on what he has already he's working on. If it's more than 5, it's usually a 72-hour or longer. But he'll look at that, tell you what's good, what's missing. Same thing with Richmond Monroe. If you send them a collateral file review, they'll tell you, okay, this looks good, this doesn't look good. And then they can give you a rough estimate on price to go and correct it. Now, Joel doesn't do corrective stuff. He's just doing collateral review, tells you what's missing, and then you're going to go out and get it yourself. Okay? Got a question comment here. So if there's a break in the assignment, not a big deal. Just go out. You'll have the seller say, listen, there's an assignment of mortgage missing from this bank to the other seller. I need to see that you have that before I fund. And most of them are like, oh, it just didn't get scanned in or it's missing. We'll reach out and get it. It's not usually too hard to get a new assignment done. It may just extend things, but I will make sure that if I'm funding on 19 assets and the one's missing, okay, I'll fund on these 18. We'll wait for this 19th one to be done, and they often will get to it as well. Now, here's another thing too. It's going to take 30 to 45 days for the collateral to show up. It just is what it is. The original loan files will show up. The assignments can come a little bit faster. So most of the time, the sellers will just send the new assignments or the new deeds or stuff like that along with the older documents if it's coming from the same place. If it's coming separately, You'll get assignments usually earlier than the hard collateral files. Now, here's the thing. Do not fund until you've seen the soft collateral file. If a seller tells you, oh, yeah, you'll get the collateral file after you fund, no, no, no. Don't do that. Tell them I ain't funding until I get a soft copy of the collateral file. Okay? Don't fund, because then they usually are missing stuff, or it's really shitty assets that have a lot of issues with the collateral. So most 90% of the sellers, 99% of sellers will have the collateral file to take a review. All right? And check. Make sure also if you can check who the bank is on most cases by looking at the collateral files or going to the title records. Okay? So that's an important thing. You know, there are brokers out there that sell on behalf of lenders. Just make sure you're dealing with the right person when it comes to that. But assignment can be corrected relatively easy, maybe $100 to $500 to get it corrected, depending on if the institution's still around. I mean, I got 2 assignments corrected 2 weeks ago in 24 hours. What I had to do, though, is I had to create the assignments and create it all for them, and then I basically emailed it to with a FedEx envelope so they could sign it and re-notarize it and then ship it back to us. Okay. And an assignment of mortgage is often going to be on an 8x14 piece of paper versus an 8x11, but each county is different. This is why it's important to me want to do work with a company like Richmond Rowe so they know exactly if they're going to create a new assignment or going to create record things, that everything is accurate. Some counties will require 2 notaries. Sometimes will require 2 witnesses. Sometimes it can be the notary. Sometimes it can't. Sometimes they want an 8x11 for 2 pieces, or 8x14, or 1 inch. It's just, or gotta have 2 inches at the top. It's kind of weird. Some of the specifications. If you need somebody to handle that stuff for you, we've got a person that we use on a regular basis who's phenomenal. Okay. Questions about the kind of collateral and a little bit more on the property due diligence, and of course, some of the bar due diligence stuff. Social media is a very powerful tool.